Would you hand your kids a loaded gun, or would you hand them the keys to your car?
Nope.
Yes, sir.
No, no. Why would you do that? It's
Right.
crazy dangerous.
Sure.
Well, if you're giving your children, they say you a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, access to social media, you are factually increasing their risks of depression and suicide. Studied, there's data to support that, crystal clear. So if you wouldn't hand your kid a loaded gun, why would you give your 10-year-old social media, especially unsupervised? It is detrimental to their development, and it increases their risk for suicide.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. So today we have a special guest, Dr. and Colonel Josh McConkey. He is a board-certified emergency room physician, a decorated combat veteran, a best-selling author, a visionary, so much more. This man has seen a lot of things in his day, and he has the stories to back all of them up. But what he sees right now is troubling him greatly. He sees communities crumbling. He sees neighborhoods with people so at odds that they just aren't neighborly anymore. And I imagine that sounds familiar to you as well as to us. So, but fear not, because Colonel McConkey, Colonel Josh,
Dr. Colonel.
Dr. Colonel Josh has a solution that he thinks is going to change everything. So let's get into it. Dr. Colonel, first off, thank you for your service. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show and a very nice
welcome.
introduction.
Looking forward to it.
So happy to have you here. So, okay.
Yeah.
Let's just get right into the book. You want to?
Go.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
called.
So the title of the book is called Be the Weight Behind the Spear. Explain to our audience the title and what inspired you to write this book.
So be the weight behind the spear. That's my personal leadership ethos. I have that inscribed on my challenge coin that I give to men and women in my squadron and people that I meet. It's to understand like what it means to be the weight behind the spear. You really have to look at what's the tip of the spear. So I've been really fortunate, very blessed in my military career. I've had some opportunities to work with special operations when you talk about men and women that are the tip of the spear. So these are the people jumping out of helicopters, jumping out of airplanes, taking down bin Laden, rescuing children in cave system. I've been very fortunate to work with these types of individuals. And you realize very quickly that they have all had somebody in their life, like a teacher, a coach, mentors, family that have given them the amazing confidence. You know, they're their teachers and coaches. You know, for me, that was some of my biggest, the weight behind my spear. But that's the best resource that we have in this country. And so as a military commander, you know, I see the younger generation, and as an emergency physician, I've just seen so much anxiety and depression and suicide in some of that population that I just feel like America's kind of losing it a bit. We're losing that battle. There is an exponential increase in anxiety and depression in these age children that were, you know, shut out of schools for 2 or 3 years. Those years are critical for their development. And, you know, some policy decisions there, these are the repercussions, and we have to deal with it. It doesn't make any good to pass any blame or to, you know, chastise that whole generation. What are we going to do about it? Let's own the problem. And here's the prescription.
Was there a moment when it hit you that you needed to write this book?
So 2021, 2022, just it was a disaster. So COVID, as an emergency physician and most healthcare practitioners, it sucked your will to live. You know, that compassion fatigue is very real. It was absolute chaos. I have 3 kids, so we've done the best we can with our 3 children. Unfortunately, there's a lot more that maybe don't have some of that same support. And so they're in my emergency department on a regular basis. And it's just increasing day by day by day. I mean, you feel like it just gets worse month by month. And then you see the suicides, and you have to sit down with that family, and you have to break that kind of news. And I unfortunately can't save everyone. And it rips your heart out. And you sit down, you cry with those families. And now as a military commander, that same time frame, I mean, these kids coming out, they lack resiliency. Some of the basic leadership skills, they fold so quickly. And basically the parents, you take, you know, where these kids were just isolated for a couple of years there that were detrimental to their development. The parents' kind of reaction has been, we used to have helicopter parents. Now we have lawnmower parents. And so they're mowing down everything in that kid's path. and the kids are not getting even opportunities to make mistakes and learn. So, be there for your kids, be supportive, but you have to let them go out and make some mistakes, because if they encounter no obstacles, when they get out of school, they get out of college, come looking for jobs, guess what? It's now real life,
Yeah.
and they cave so quickly. Their resiliency skills are minimal. And
Yeah.
as a military commander, that's what I deal with. It's very difficult. We have a lot of room to go.
So, a couple of things based on what you said. You said they end up in my emergency room. Is it all self harm? That's what you're referring to?
No, just mental health
Mental
issues,
health
just
issues.
the
Okay.
anxiety, the depression.
Right.
Um, Social media is a blessing and a curse for a lot of those kids. It was their only tie to the outside world, but at the same time, that obsession with social media, and it's not real life. So they always see the best of everybody, the
Sure.
body image issues and the comparisons. And this is a generation that has never lived without having that iPad or that
Mm.
iPhone and that instant access to the information with social media. So Australia has gone, you know, quite extreme, but anyone under the age of 16, they've made it illegal to have social media, right? Just
Wow.
flat out illegal.
Huh.
I'm not a big fan of government intervention like that. I think it should be a parent's decision. I agree with it. My children do not have social media. The American Academy of Pediatrics has a great stance on that and some policy statements as well. But it's a multifactorial issue. But when you put all that together, it's just a perfect storm, and that's why we have
Yeah.
this mental health crisis.
Just so I have some stats just to back you up on what's going
Yeah.
on. Your book discusses COVID's impact on youth. So here's some numbers. 44% of U.S. teens reported feelings of hopelessness, and 1 in 4 young people experience depressive symptoms. And even more alarming, as you said, emergency room visits for suicidal ideation among girls have increased by 50%.
The children are a victim of the social isolation and social media, right? They're the two primary things that are impacting their, I guess, state of mental health. How does that translate to them not having a weight behind their spear? I know they need it.
So, for children, that, the pluses and the minuses for the social media, that is their reality.
Yeah.
So that perception is their reality. For me, being shut out, and, I certainly use some social media for business and for promoting the book. It's just not my life. It doesn't
Right.
revolve around that. But for this generation, that was everything. And so that's how they developed. So instead of being able to like pick up a phone or talk face to face, they already had some of the communication issues anyways, just because of the technology. But then you just completely shut them out of any environment where they could have progressed. Shut them out of church, shut them out of school. That was literally everything. And, not everyone has a great family structure around them, unfortunately. And that's, I see a lot of that. My wife in the schools, and my mom was a teacher as well. And, a lot of those end up in my emergency department for lots of different social issues. But, it's just a bad combination that they're so impressionable at that age. It's so critical that if you just erase that, you've just removed that education component for them. Some of them got shut out of some of their biggest milestones, like no high school
Yeah.
graduations. And then
Right.
there was some of that same cohort for other issues. They didn't have any high school, college graduation. So those are huge milestones in a person's
Yeah.
life, that
To
there's a whole
miss.
generation of Americans that got none of it.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. What can we do?
You know,
COVID's
for
over.
let them know that you love them. Let them go out and make mistakes. I have proposed something extremely simple. It's almost been forgotten at times, but it's just something simple. Sit down and have dinner at night with your family. Just sit down. Make the kids get off the phone, shut the TV off, sit at a dinner table and just talk about your day. And then if you take that time, they know that, number one, that you care. Like, they might whine about it. Oh, I want to be watching TV. Like, no, we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about our day. Each of the kids, I've got 3 of them. Tell me about your day. What was your favorite part? What didn't go well?
Yeah.
What could have been different? And, just make that part of your routine. And that is a very positive, growing environment for your children.
We violate that rule.
We were just talking about that because I had a feeling you're gonna say that. I have kids who are 25 and 23. We had them sit down for dinner every single night. It was
I did.
and for lack of a better word, a shit show. Well, my son and my daughter would fight every dinner. We did it, but after
Ours too.
almost every dinner, we had somebody running downstairs crying or, yelling or arguing or whatever. So I do know, I totally agree with you. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. I don't think everyone has the capacity to do that. So there has to be other things too, because you don't do it.
Is just spend the time, whether you're
right, whether it's at the dinner table
or
right.
8:00 at night, or
have your family debrief.
Family
something.
debrief.
Family debrief.
Spoken like a colonel.
Colonel.
Yeah, but you just got to let them know that you care enough to take that time,
Yeah.
even though if they whine about it and they don't want to be there. Like in the back of their mind, they know that you care, and maybe it's going to give them an opportunity to ask some questions that they would have never asked otherwise. Create that open dialogue. That's the weight behind the spirit home.
Yeah. I like the term lawnmower parent. I'd never heard that before. I heard helicopter.
Oh,
yeah.
And I think I've done a little bit.
And you know what I'm talking about, right? You
totally.
see those lawnmower parents. Oh,
totally.
man.
But you also had the phrase Prozac parenting. What was that?
Just the Prozac parenting. I really tied a lot of that to social media, and it ties into the mental health issues and the self-esteem issues. And I talked a lot about like Taylor Swift, right? So Taylor Swift, she dominates the music industry. She's very dominant in social media, but at extreme measures, too much of that exposure is not a good thing. So I had some real simple, like 3 tips for parents that were very helpful. Number one, just simple time restraints. Our kids have access to iPads, but only on weekends, like at 4:30, we've got those time limits set on them. And then, age restrictions to social media are very, very critical. So, I am a big proponent of not having social media access until age 16. Some pediatricians will say even to 18, but, that is part of the digital world. That is their reality. So they do need to understand how to interact and how to do it safely. Right. And then the third component was just like that drive-by audit where the parents just random times duck in, see what they're looking at, ask them some questions. Whether you really care or not is immaterial, right? I have no idea what my kids are looking at the time, but act like you're interested. Ask some questions, give them an opportunity to explain. And then in the back of their mind, they know that you're kind of watching. And so hopefully they're not getting into anything too dangerous. But would you hand your kids a loaded gun, or would you hand them the keys to your car?
Yes, sir.
No, no. Why would you do that? It's crazy dangerous.
Sure.
Well, if you're giving your children, they say you're a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, access to social media, you are factually increasing their risks of depression and suicide. Studied, there's data to support that, crystal clear. So if you wouldn't hand your kid a loaded gun, why would you give your 10-year-old social media? Especially unsupervised. It is detrimental to their development, and it increases their risk for suicide.
What do you do with your kids when there are a bunch of kids around who are on their phones and your kids are like, Dad,
I want a phone.
Everybody's on,
Or so we just have this year have got phones for our children. So my son Luke is in 8th grade, and then I have twin 6-year-olds who are now doing some sports and activities in multiple directions. That's we got 2 parents and 3 kids. Can't divide and conquer. So they do have access to that. We take the phones when they get home. They don't have access to the phone 24/7. We're not perfect by any means.
Right.
We try, and we make sure we're put that time and investment in there and try to educate. But yeah, you're right. When they're somewhere else or they're at school, you can't always control that.
What else would you suggest besides a family dinner to build resilience back?
Engage your community. Life is a team sport. We need everybody. And everybody has something to give. So teachers, coaches, volunteers, families, everybody has something to give. Maybe you don't want to work with 5-year-old kids coaching soccer like I did because it drives you absolutely bonkers, or t-ball. But volunteer in your church, volunteer in your school, or maybe you just don't like people at all, then go to your local animal shelter. All those animal shelters have animals that can, need homes for somebody, can be emotional support for somebody. There's great studies that show, pet owners and these emotional support animals have huge differences in anxiety and depression and suicide risks. So, maybe just volunteer at your local animal shelter there. There's something for you. There's so many organizations out in your community. I started one myself, a nonprofit organization, the Weight Behind the Spear Foundation. We're raising money for Western North Carolina after the hurricanes and, trying to promote volunteerism. There's so many things you can do. Business owners and business leaders, maybe you don't have kids. This is still your problem. Because who's hiring those kids?
In your book, you have a chapter on leadership. You did a reading online.
I was very lucky as a professor at Duke University. It was residency recruiting season, and I thought somebody just roped Coach K. You know who Coach K is? Krzyzewski,
Yes.
the legendary Duke basketball coach, like
Legendary.
brilliant mind. He came and gave a lecture on leadership to our residency program, and I thought he just probably owed somebody a favor, was going to pop in and say hello. It was 2 hours.
Wow.
It blew me away. We couldn't
Wonderful.
record anything.
Yeah.
I literally was typing up on my phone. I have so many notes. A lot of those notes made it into my assumption of command speech when I took command of my squadron in 2022, and those stories are in the book. It was just mind-boggling. The big ones for him with that just ownership, accountability, and standards, not rules. I've taken that to heart. I've been very successful in leadership for quite a while now in the military and in business. And if people aren't meeting those standards, I sit them down, I chat with them. Hey, I care about you. You're a valued member of this team. I need you to get to this standard. If you can't get to the standard, you're not on the team anymore.
So when you were coaching those 5-year-old soccer players, I'm serious. Like I think a lot of coaches. So I coached too, and I know you always want everybody to be a winner, and like not to get upset or sad. How do you put these standards into something like that? I mean, that's something that parents might be watching or listening.
Yeah.
And they say, wait, how can I do this?
Yeah. So there's two things there. So number one, everybody is not a winner. All right. They're not. There's winners and there's losers.
I would love to hear that.
And you either worked harder or they were better than you.
Right.
There's no excuses.
No excuses.
You either win or you don't, period. Some of my coaches growing up had a big influence on me. So at those younger ages, you don't really talk about winning as much. It's about having fun.
Right.
So everyone isn't a winner, but we are all here to have fun. So I don't focus on the winning. I mean, I don't care if we win the game at 5 years old. Like, are you having fun? Is everybody getting to play? Is this a safe environment? Some kids don't come from safe environments, and these are outlets for them. But as you get older, winning is very important. And if you don't win, like, you don't get a trophy. Like, that was a problem. So we have a generation where everyone was a winner. Everyone got a trophy and participation ribbons. That hasn't panned out well.
Were you actually applying to be on the National Security Council?
Yes. Oh,
what happened?
That's a whole chapter in the book. Boy, nightmares are dreams too.
Oh.
And so this was in Texas, and things are going very well, making a tremendous amount of money. And I came from a family, like my entire family is like railroaders. So my dad, my grandfather, my great grandfather, all railroaders. I was the first McConkey to go to college. Aunts, uncles, cousins, anybody. So, making some really good money. Well, I find out that the CEO, he's making some poor decisions. He's embezzling money. He's skirting some Medicare laws. He's self-referring patients from one business to another business that he owes, which is illegal. It's called the anti-Stark law. And I had applied for a national security position. I'm dual board certified in like disaster medicine, with FEMA, EMS type of stuff as well. And so I applied on a position there as a reservist on the council. Very cool, very prestigious position. And you have to go through a extremely strenuous top secret level security questionnaire. And I've got all this business stuff going on that I know is not above board. So I went to this individual. I was like, listen, this has to stop. All right. I cannot be part of this. I'm applying to a National Security Council position. You can't, number one, it's very unethical anyways. I felt it was illegal. It was. But he went berserk. He first offered me a bribe. So he offered me $3.4 million.
Oh, man.
I know now that he's done that at several businesses. He always has people sign these non-disclosure agreements and then just give him some cash and they walk away. I told him to shove it up his ass. Unfortunately for him, he found the one dude in America that will not take $3.4 million. I told him, listen, I'm a colonel in the United States Air Force. I will not compromise my integrity for a single penny. And I reported him to the FBI, the Texas Department of Insurance. He went nuts, tried to bankrupt the company, drove it into the ground. He was majority shareholder, so controlled the bank account and just starved us out. And then COVID hit. So we filed the lawsuit to prevent him from bankrupting the company, and COVID just destroyed the courts. We couldn't get a court date. He just ran rampant. And then he threatened my family. So I actually moved to Australia for a year. We picked everybody up and moved to Australia. I got a position in Adelaide at Flinders University. And I lost $5 million
Oh my
super,
God.
super bad, nasty dude. The FBI did not press charges because everyone was just lost with COVID, and their excuse was, "Well, we're not sure we're going to get a conviction, so we're really sorry." I'm like, "He's threatening my family." He's like, "Well,
Right.
you haven't done
Sure.
anything yet." I go, "Okay, all right." I
Oh,
mean, he was already willing to give me $3.4 million, so he was obviously concerned, right? Um,
That
very,
is
very,
wild.
really
it's a crazy
sorry.
story, but hey,
Yeah.
it's I can't control what other people do. I can control what I do. I'm not taking that for anybody. So, unfortunately, it didn't work out well for me, and I lost a bunch of money, but my integrity is completely intact. I
Yeah.
feel great about myself. I showed that example to my children. And then, really, really crazy is several years later. So, February of last year, I won the North Carolina Educational Lottery.
Whoa.
Came
Yeah.
What?
back around.
It was at the gas station over by Gabriel's
Unbelievable.
Gabriel's gymnastics. So I
Right.
had bought some tickets on that Wednesday night. Now I'd done like the online thing, and then didn't win and rolled the numbers forward Thursday night, and then Friday morning we're getting kids ready for school. It's like 6:30 in the morning, and if you got kids, like, brush your teeth. Did
Yeah.
you make your lunch? Where's your water bottle? Like, feed the cat. Who did the just crazy. And then I get this ping on my phone, and that's that's interesting. It says, we need to provide your tax information. I'm like, oh yeah,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
whatever. I'm not clicking on that email. There's
Right.
no way. Total
Phishing.
scam,
Yeah.
but intriguing. So I log into the website, North Carolina Educational Lottery, and there's just this monstrous amount of money sitting there, like, claim your prize. I'm like, what are you? What?
If you had 30 seconds just to talk to that one person, the heart of your message, what you want to get out from our time together, what would you tell that person who's watching or listening?
I would tell them that what they do every single day matters. They have a part to play. Life is a team sport. Maybe your input is going to be something different. It's different for everybody. You want to engage your community in different ways. There's other places you can use those skills, different organizations. Just get out there. What you do really does matter, and you're contributing to our national security, right? When you build stronger communities and you build these leadership skills, these kids, they're the future of our country. I want to retire. I assume you guys want to retire at some point. You're handing the keys over to someone. I would like them to be ready.
Yeah.
And so we have a part to play in that. What you do every day matters.
It seems so logical.
It seems so logical and so easy. Why don't we all do it, Josh?
Yeah, why don't we?
Life is busy. You get pulled in a bunch of different directions. Sometimes people, get a little bit more selfish than others. Like, there's bad people out there. I found that out the hard way. You can't control those people, but you can control your reactions to that.
Yeah.
So, there's always challenges. There's always things to navigate around. You gotta throw some different punches at you. You just have to be able to overcome that and just refuse to give up. So for me, that was one of the bigger reasons for writing the book. This is the most politically and generationally divided we have been in my lifetime. I'm 47. I'll be 48 later this year. It's the craziest I've ever seen it. And I think if you try to find something that everyone can agree on, like everybody, no matter what walk of life that you come from, or how much money you make, or what your job is, like, everybody wants this next generation to be successful because that's our future. So everybody can agree that developing leadership skills for this next generation only makes us stronger as a country. And so that's something we can all focus on.
What's next for Dr. Colonel Josh McConkey?
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
Yeah, for me, I really enjoy command. My command tour ends here this summer, so I've got to find another command job or another job for the Air Force Reserves. I'm only 47. I don't feel like I'm old enough to retire. I've got 23 years of service. I still enjoy what I do. I'm still working as an emergency physician, and then focusing on family. I just keep myself open and always prepared. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to wake up every day and see what we can do. I legitimately am happy to be alive. I had some very close calls in Iraq. And I'm just happy to be alive. And I try to wake up every morning to see what I can do to make, this country a better place. And we just keep on trucking.
So Be the Weight Behind the Spear. It's on your website, right? You have a website?
Yeah.
People can still buy it. They should.
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Sure.
It's on Barnes and Noble. We've got audiobook, ebook, and the paperback.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It's been great.
Oh, it's
hearing
been
the
wonderful,
stories.
guys.
I
Love
really,
hearing it.
really enjoyed this conversation.
If you run again, let us know. We'll
Yeah.
put the word out for you.
All right. Thank you.
Campaign for
Or if
you.
you guys know some donors,
Where we're
Right?
doing
Oh,
it. Yeah,
good point.
Because it always takes money. You have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thank you.
Appreciate it. You got it. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again soon.